Hey there, welcome back. Now it's good time for us to do some changes in our models as well as move forward with our current project objective. So that means in this lecture we are going to talk about users, since I have been waiting to talk about this topic. So at this point of time we have no clue who is writing these review. So if I jump here, click on this review, I don't know which user wrote which review. At this point of time we don't have any field that tracks about user. So we are going to work on this. We are going to add a new foreign field which is user. The other thing is we also need to talk about user in general. So if you click here, user, and if I try to add a new user, we need to talk about this process also, since from the next lecture our focus will be towards permission as well as authentication, that include the restriction that we need to add, that include about login, registration, logout and everything else. So in this specific lecture, let us start our task towards connection with user as well as review. At this point of time I have no idea which user is writing which review. We started this with random example, but as we move forward with this course we need to get serious. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new field and I'm going to call this as either editor, writer or something else, or maybe author. Let me call this as user, that would be much better. And here we are going to accept a foreign field. This foreign field is going to take input in the form of user. Also we are going to take core argument as onDelete. So first thing I need to do is I need to import user. Now this is a default field, so we don't have to worry much. All I have to do is from Django, I need to use contrib, auth, models and then user. This looks fine. Let me copy this one, scroll down. Here I am going to take user, and if we delete that user, just delete its review. That would be much better. So I'm going to utilize here models.cascade. That's it. Let me call it something else because user is very common term. I think username or reviewer will be much better. I really don't want to use any common field name. Yeah, review user, something like this. So this looks fine. Now remember, we are doing some changes in our model, so we definitely need to do migrations as well as migrate. But before that, since we haven't done the changes yet, let me remove all the current reviews, and I got an error. Let me comment this one for now. Save, get back here, refresh and delete all the reviews for now, because we are going to do migrations and these all reviews don't have any author or user. Now let me uncomment this. So this is going to be our new change. The second thing I need to take care is my serializer. So that means I also need to include the field about the user. So review user need to be added in our serializer also. And I'm going to call this as serializer dot, and this should be a string related field. I just need to print their name. Actually we will get username, and this is going to be read only. That's done. If I get back here, this is also fine. Now the next thing will be to work on our views. So whenever we submit any type of review, we are not storing user actually. We will discuss about this again, but for now let me stop this server and do the migration, and then we need to talk about this views. So here let me use python manage.py, make migrations. This is done. I'm going to select 1, and then for default current value I'm going to give none. This changes is done. That's why I have deleted all the reviews. Now I just need to apply these migration. That's done. It's fine. So I can run this. It's working fine till now. Jump here, refresh, try to add a new review. Here I'm now currently selecting user. Let me try to give a review manually for now. Random selection, book 1, click save. This is saved. Let me try to access this here. Refresh. Now if you see the review, I have review as this is the username. This is the username that I am able to access. And this is pretty important. Now we have each review connected to some user. There are also some complications that we will solve later, like one user can add any number of review. So let me add one more review to the same movie. So if I save this one, click here, refresh. So a single user currently added 2 reviews and we need to stop this. Don't worry, we will talk about this later also. So I hope you got the idea what we are trying to do. Moving forward, we are also going to face another problem. At this point of time, anyone can edit any type of review. So if I try to access this review 1, let me remind myself with the URL, it is going to be stream review and then 1. So stream review and then 1. So now if anyone visits this URL, anyone can edit it. We need to add some authentication and some permission to stop that. For that, we will talk about this concept. Remember, we will talk about this during permission as well as authentication also. But here we can solve the first problem that we had. We can stop this problem. That means if a user is sending review for the second time, we are not going to save it. How? So whenever we submit any request, it is going to get inside this perform_create. So what we can do is we can check inside this if the user has already done the review or not. For example, I am going to get the information of current user. So all I have to do is use review_user, inside which I am going to store the information of current user. So self, I am going to use request.user. Now I have access to, maybe if I am currently sending a request with Shubham username, so I have access to Shubham. Now all I have to do is check if Shubham has already done the review for this particular movie or this watch list. So what I am going to do is I am going to search about this. Here I am going to use my review model. I am going to select its object and then I am going to filter it. So I am going to filter on 2 bases. Inside my review, I am going to first select the movie, which is my watch list. And then I am going to select the user, which is going to be my review user. The field name is also review user. Remember, this part is belong to this value and this part is for this value. So if I'm calling this as user here, I need to submit user. This is basic thing, I guess. That's done. Now if I have already done a review regarding this, I should not be able to proceed from this part. So what I can do is I can check if we got any result. So if my review query set exists, I'm going to raise a validation error. So I'm going to use validation error. First, let me also import this validation. So I'm going to import this through REST framework exception. So here I need to use from REST framework dot exception. I'm going to import validation error. So this looks fine to me. If I jump here, this is my validation error, and here I can pass any message. You have already reviewed this movie or this watch list. You can call this as movie or show or anything. This looks fine. Now what I am going to do is I am going to jump here, delete both of them. Sure, get back here and let's try to send a request here. So this is working fine and I need to review to a particular object. Let me select the object, which is watch list, and let me review to the first object itself. So here I'm going to select object number 1 / I'm going to select review. Yeah, first object don't have any review right now, and our URL is -create, I guess. Yeah, this is the URL where we need to send the request. Yep, so here we can send a request. Let me give 5-star, and then description should be description 1. Let me keep this as false. Send a post request. I got an error, not null constraint this field review user ID. Definitely, because while saving this we need to also inform our serializer that this is the new user. That means we need to inform that the review_user value is this. Let me save this one, jump back here. I need to recreate this, so I'm going to send a 5-star, and this is going to be description 1. Send this post request we have created, and the review user is Shubham. This looks fine. Let me try to create a new one. Let me give 5-star again, and this time let me give description 2. And if I send a post request, review create should either include a query attribute or override this. Okay, now here we need to create a get query set method inside our create class. So all we have to do is just jump here, and I need to create a get query set method, and inside this all I have to do is just return my review object. So all I have to do is use review object.all. This looks fine. Let me try to do this again. Let me take this as 5 and use description 2. If I jump here, refresh, currently we only have 1, and instead of false, let me take this as true. And if I submit this one, you can see we got an error. You have already reviewed this movie. So if I jump back here, and this is where everything changes. So we are checking if this query set exists. That means we have some object inside this. If yes, then we are going to raise this, and we are not going to call this .save method. So here we get out from this complete method, and that's why we are not saving anything in our database. Let me try to refresh here. Yep, we haven't saved anything. So that's how we can restrict each individual user to submit only one review for one movie. That means they can review any movie but only for one time. And this is pretty important, otherwise we can just submit movies again and again. Now the next part, the next important thing we need to do is to add permission as well as authentication. Till now we don't have any type of permission. Any user can visit any page and any user can edit anything. So we should add some permission, and this is going to be important. Like only logged in user can read about movies. So if I just jump onto this stream, this watch part and the stream, only logged in user should be able to access this. Or if I talk about my URLs and this list, so only logged in users should be able to access this. So we need to do something here, and for that we have permissions, and we also need to understand how to add login, logout, registration, and that's where we will talk about authentication also regarding login and different method of authentication. I hope this lecture was helpful. Let us continue our journey regarding permissions from the next one. Thank you for following, and I see you guys in the next one.